Hi, my name is Nick Thorson, and this is my final presentation on the different types of technological communication used in information security. As far as the research process went, I firstly kind of researched the different modes of communication on a quick Google search and in our textbook, as well as kind of watched a few videos, and then tied those in with the ones that I think would work with information security. And then, secondly, I got to interview a working professional. Luckily, my dad is working in the same field that I'm working in, so it's nice to have someone close that you can kind of just ask whatever questions you want and get all the information that you need. And then, thirdly, I combined the information that I got from the interview and the research I did into an infographic using Pictochart. And so, firstly, I'll kind of talk about how my infographic sort of laid out. First, you have the mode of communication, kind of on the left there. Under that, you have a brief description of what the mode is. And then under that, I have different icons for each different mode. There's 5 different modes. For emails, I decided to choose a letter because that just works. And under that, you can see there's a percentage, and that's the percent that each mode is used throughout the day. And then in a pie chart over there, I have all 5 of the modes that I'm going to talk about today and all of their percents to make up 100% of the day. And then under that, I have the key uses of each of the modes. So firstly, emails. Their workers use them in the field of information security. Use email as a way to respond to casual information about their work. They might receive reminders about certain projects or meetings coming up in the future, but it's nothing urgent or dire. Yeah, like I said, some of the key uses for emailing are that you're sent and checked casually throughout the day. Um, I talked to my dad a little bit about this, and he said, yeah, emailing isn't a huge part of his day in the office. It's mainly just kind of something that he checks during the start of the day, maybe once or twice during the middle, and then like once at the end. And he said it's usually just kind of like updates about projects or kind of just like, you know, work reminders, maybe about like work parties or something like that. Just very kind of casual stuff. And yeah. So the second mode of communication that's used a lot is Slack. Slack is a software where it's kind of similar to Reddit but for work. So there's multiple threads that different teams can upload information to. It's a new age communication software designed specifically for the work environment, and information security workers use it often and daily to create threads about certain projects that any of the teams are sort of working on, and it's used 20% of the day. So some of the key uses, like I said before, team communication. You can kind of post stuff on there that you want other teams to see, and they can kind of come and see that information, and then kind of like help you solve a problem or stuff like that. And it's a lot easier than just kind of verbally going over there and explaining to them verbally, kind of like huge data sets and all that sort of stuff, or you can just show them on Slack and they have access to that. And it's kind of nice as well because you can see the progress of all the other teams' work as well. So instead of reaching out to someone you know who's in a meeting, you can just go onto Slack and see, okay, I have the information right here. I don't need to bother that person. And my dad said this is something that he uses constantly throughout the day. So it's very important. The third mode of communication is Zoom. Um, Information security workers spend most of their time in the office in meetings. Meetings are an effective way to get across important information to each team member, and this mode of communication is used 60% of the day. So some of the key uses for Zoom are to present information. Um, Basically, I tied Zoom in with the same kind of category as meetings. Obviously, recently due to COVID-19, Zoom is kind of the primary use for most businesses nowadays. So my dad has been on Zoom calls kind of all day, and he's been working from home. So, it's just kind of a place where you can discuss issues and solve problems with other teammates. It's verbal um, on Zoom, but obviously it's through video. It's not in person, so you kind of lose that like personable aspect to it. But and for the most part, my dad says this takes up the majority of the day. The fourth mode of communication is Google Docs. Workers in the field of information security use Google Docs to upload and share presentations, Word documents, and spreadsheets with other coworkers. Google Docs makes it easier to show your team data rather than having to explain it verbally, and he uses this about 5% of his day. Some of the key uses for Google Docs are to share data easily. So you could make like an Excel spreadsheet or something like that with a whole bunch of data on there and post it to Google Docs and share it with another team member. So it's a lot easier than having to, verbally explain it over like a meeting or something like that. And it's just an easy way to get presentable data to a different team. Um, and it's a form of virtual communication with other teams, and he uses this only a couple times a day. The fifth mode of communication is through mobile. Um, Coworkers can easily text or call one another, but it's only really used in case of emergencies, and my dad only uses it like 5% of his day. So some of the key uses are quick contact. Um, like I said before, it's not really used too often, but like if you really, really need to get a hold of someone, then you would probably call them instead of emailing them or messaging them on Slack or, a Zoom call, something like that. So that kind of wraps up the presentation. I hope you kind of learned something about information security and the different types of modes. And yeah, thanks for listening.